giving me permission to conduct the fastest meeting ever in the history since Bill Rosendahl has been chair. With that, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And what do we have before us?
Number six.
Number six.
Number six.
We request the number six.
Number
Six be moved to
Pardon me?
first item. A request for item 6 to be moved to the first item.
Okay. We will
Thank
take up item number 6 without objection.
Item number 6, City Engineer Report relative to a request for additional funding for construction Phase 3 of the First Street Bridge widening project and related matters. This item has also been referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you very much, members of the committee. This is Phil Richardson from the Bureau of Engineering. I'm the Bridge Program Manager. Thank you for taking this item up first. We appreciate it. We have a briefing with Councilmember Huizar coming up very shortly. This item deals with the First Street Bridge project, which we're widening the bridge over the LA River to accommodate the East Side Light Rail project. The East Side Light Rail is going to take 2 lanes of the bridge away. We need to widen it in order to be able to add the lanes back. The contract was awarded for $27 million and construction began in April of last year. We originally planned for completion in May of 2010. Now it looks like it's going to be December of 2010. Costs, the reason we're here today because costs have increased recently due to some delays because of extra quantities of construction materials that are required to build the project and because of some unforeseen conditions in the construction of our foundation for the bridge. Therefore, this report is requesting a budget increase for the project and an additional $7.121 million in city funds. However, since the report was written, we've gotten an additional grant for $2 million from the feds. So therefore, our request is now reduced to $5.1 million. As a result of that, we do have some revised recommendations, which we're bringing to you today. We're recommending that $5.1 million be comprised of $1.3 million from Prop C and $3.8 million from the seismic bond, which the seismic bond money would be from completed project accounts. We've prepared some revised recommendations, which I'll go through right now. As I've been told, I need to read them into the record. New recommendation number 1 is to authorize the increase of $8,875,387 in the total project cost for the First Street Bridge widening and historic railing replacement project from $68 million to $76,875,387. Also to authorize, as recommendation number 2, authorize the release of a little over $3.7 million in the inactive accounts shown in Attachment A and reappropriate the amounts within each fund to a new project account for the First Street Bridge project. Recommendation number 3 is authorize the appropriation and transfer of $1.3 million in Prop C funds from the Prop C Fund 540 to the Transportation Grant Fund 655, the project account for the project. Authorize the increase in recommendation number 4, authorize the increase in receipt and expenditure of $21,855,000 in grant reimbursements for the First Street project, and that's increasing the expenditure to $65 million. And then, as recommendation number 5, to the extent that approvals are granted for the additional potential funding sources described in the report above, allow those funds to be deposited in the Seismic Bond Fund 608 Fund account P000. And finally, allow the CO to make technical corrections. That's the revised recommendations. It's important that we expedite this report to the council. The contractor is moving quickly on the work that's related to these changes, and we need to be able to pay him or he may stop work on the job and our costs could go up more. We have a meeting with the owner of the company tomorrow, the contractor's company, in order to advise him of our progress. As you may note, this item is also referred to the T committee. We're asking that be waived through that committee since the council's already approved the budget for the Prop C request for the $1.3 million, which we're asking for. They just haven't approved the transfer of funds, and that's what's recommended in this report is the transfer of funds for $1.3 million. So that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, first of all, in reverse order, I don't think this committee has the authority to waive anything from Transportation Committee, so that would be a request to the chair of the committee. But I want to understand what is going on here. The original contract was for $27 million,
That's correct.
and the cost of the project is now estimated at
We're estimating that it's going to be $12 million additional on top of the 27. We already.
76 million.
I'm sorry.
What is a 76 million?
That's the total budget. That includes the design costs and the right-of-way costs and the construction management costs.
So the increase from 27 million to approximately 34 million is merely for construction costs?
We're increasing from the contract cost we anticipate is going to cost 27 million, where there's going to be about 12 million in change orders, but we already had approval for a portion of that, about 3.8 million of that 12 million.
Okay, so a project that was originally set at 27 million is now going to cost 39 million?
That's correct.
That's a huge leap.
It's a big increase, yes.
How could this project grow at such a high rate?
Yeah, our costs for the increase are attributed to the delay costs that we've had because we couldn't finish the work that we'd anticipated that we were going to be doing in the LA River.
Why?
Because there were a lot of railroad reviews. We had to deal with the railroad because a lot of our work was adjacent to the railroad, and we had a very difficult
Was that
time.
anticipated? I mean, the railroad's been there since all of us were born, and how could we not know that we were going to have?
We knew we were going to be dealing with the railroads, but we didn't anticipate the number of reviews that we would have to go through.
Okay, so that delay is costing us how much?
I believe it's 3 million.
It's roughly-
Roughly 3 million, yeah.
What else then? That's 3
We-
of the 12 million.
It's right. And like I said, we had about 4 million that had already been approved previously. We're also anticipating that there's additional costs due to some quantities on the project that are part of the bid items, which were incorrectly estimated originally. And
What do you mean quantities?
when we do the bids for the projects, we establish so many number of cubic yards of concrete, so many feet of reinforcing steel,
Wow.
and so many yards of excavation. And so
How did we miscalculate the quantities?
there were some phases. We ended up phasing the project. We broke the project into 3 different phases. And when the consultants did the original estimate on the quantities, it was in that transition from moving it from what was anticipated to be a 1-phase project to a 3-phase project that it ended up there was an error made.
What kind of error?
A significant error in the quantities that were shown.
So the consultant made an error?
That's correct.
Why don't they pay for this?
We're anticipating getting some money from the contractor or from the consultant on this,
And then you'll return it?
but it's going to be a small amount. The reality is that the project, the error, it takes that amount of quantity to build the project anyway. So we ended up with a lower bid on the project than we had anticipated.
Do we
It was-
anticipate using this consultant in the future?
We're going to try not to. I know we need to use them in continuous for design support during the construction of the project, and that part we're going to continue.
I just, we're sort of over a barrel on this, but to miscalculate by approximately 50% or about 45% is egregious.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not pleased with this, and I know a lot of folks in the CAO's office and the CLA's office are not very happy as well. So what isn't said here is what you're doing to make sure this won't happen again.
Well, on the delays, we're making every effort to make sure on our future projects that we don't get very close to the railroads, and that's the railroads are difficult to deal with, and that's a big problem for us. John, do you want to add?
Yeah, may I ask?
Pretty broad statement. We're going to try to stay away from the railroads in Los Angeles. There's a lot of railroads out there. Bridges are typically next to railroads, or many, or
Right.
say the reverse. Where there's railroads, there's usually bridges. So it's an interesting statement. Yeah.
John Koo with the Bureau of Engineering. 2 of the 12 million was due to, as Phil mentioned, is quantity underestimating. We have talked to Caltrans, and they have decided to fund that. So in a way, city is not paying for that mistake. We did run the
Taxpayers are.
Yes. The way this contract is set up, we pay for actual quantities, and because of so many yards and material calculation, there's always inherent some deviation from the actual. So the feds would pay for the actual quantity in the field installed. So that's why they decided to pay for that $2 million. We have received the authorization.
Well,
Then why are you using that as one of the excuses for this amount of money you need?
Because the
it's
question
covered,
was
it's-
12 million. We're
The
asking
budget increase, it's part of the budget. We have to include the federal money as part of the budget.
Okay, so you're showing that you're back-ending the money into the project.
Yeah, it ended up reducing the amount that we needed because it went from 7 down to 5.
What about this contractor? Don't they have errors and omissions insurance?
Yes.
Why aren't we
consultant.
going to them and asking them to pay for that then? That's what they take the insurance out for.
We will be having discussions with them. I think we have already.
Right. Again, we're under the oversight of Caltrans, and what they've asked us to do is not pay for the effort that was spent estimating. Since it was in error, we're in the process of getting that from the consultant as to how much effort they spent doing the estimating,
in other words,
and not pay
how
for
many
it.
billable hours for the work that
Exactly.
they
Mhm.
did versus
Exactly.
Mhm.
the quantities. The
Exactly.
quantities we have to pay for, the billable hours
Right.
we want
Yeah.
we want back.
Exactly.
But that's almost nothing
It's small.
compared to the 12
Yeah.
million.
Mhm.
Or the,
Well,
the 2 million.
2 to 3 million, yeah.
Some of the things they're learning, they're trying to incorporate in the Sixth Street project, as far as pile driving, some of those, and the quantity checks, making sure the quantities are right. They also had to do some drilling during the wet weather season, which delays because we're restricted when we can work and when we cannot work and how we work, what kind of noise it makes. And those were also some cost increase that they saw in the project. We are trying to learn these lessons because Sixth Street is even bigger and also a much bigger project that's coming up, and we're trying to incorporate all of them. Another thing with
But
bridges.
how many bridges are we planning on doing?
Well, in the future, I don't know what the stimulus package
How
is.
many,
Who
how many
knows?
bridges do we have? Like
W-
400?
Would, yes, but as far as projects go, we probably have around 50 or so.
Okay, so 50 projects. If we made
Hmm.
this kind of mistake on every project,
Mhm.
we'd go broke. We'd go broke.
So we are trying to incorporate those
money
lessons
that we're
learned, a
using
lot
for
of
this,
lessons.
Well, the
a
money
lot of
we're using
lessons
for this
learned.
project might affect the 50th project. We might not be able to do it. So,
Some.
this is, I'm going to vote for this, but we've got to
We're-
improve
Right.
our analysis, estimating, and reduce the cost of change orders. We recognize that things happen out there, and that there are change orders, but 45% increase is a horrible track record. I would fire my contractor if they did that at my house.
Yeah.
And,
Normally we
And-
run like 3% on
Right.
change orders, which is acceptable
Mhm.
below the national average. Then you come in with this one, this is the worst I've ever seen in all my years here.
Mhm. A lot of this is underground work, and that's where we ran into the problems was underground for the most part, except for the quantity issue. But I mean, the underground portion is a big part of it.
There's also $1.2 million out of the 12 that's for the Pickle Works alteration. Originally, that was to be done by General Services, but because General Service quotation, they gave a higher quote than the contractor, Caltrans said, in public interest, give the work to the contractor. So it's not really a change order per se, but we had to do it that way to get the work going.
So that's a portion of it.
It says here that you've taken 7 out of 27 lofts. Are you dislocating people in that building now?
They're all been
That was
relocated.
not planned for?
It was originally in the plans.
It was in the plan. Oh, Paul Smith's here.
Paul Smith, CLA. The Pickleworks building belongs to the city. It was abutting against the widening project. We had a tenant that sat in there and fought us for a long, long time. We took every effort to get this individual out in a timely fashion. It just took time. We bought the building. We have demolished the front part off. We're ready to go. The bridge project has encountered a number of drilling problems. The base of the river, they're in the river, they're drilling down, and they're finding cobbles 2-3 feet wide that are just eating these bits up like toothpicks. So they have legitimate delays in the actual structural, doing the actual building of the bridge and the support beams that are going to have for the widening. So there are legitimate delays that have been visited upon these guys.
Well,
Reminds
reminds me of dealing with a mechanic. How many bridges have been reconstructed in this country? How much have we learned about engineering bridges, and how could you not know that there's going to be issues? It should have been factored in at the beginning. And when we make a commitment of spending X amount of dollars, we're making a promise to the public that we're going to be responsible with their dollars. When we spend 45% more, it's abnormal. It is not acceptable. I mean, we're going to do it. We're forced to. Like I said, when the mechanic pulls the engine out of the car, we got to put the engine back in.
Exactly.
In this case, we're stuck, but that doesn't mean we have to like it, and it doesn't mean that we have to approve things as we move forward. So we have to view your future analysis with a skeptical eye, and it undermines the whole purpose of what we're trying to accomplish here, getting more projects done. Those $12 million or $11 million could have been applied to other projects that are important to the taxpayers. And I don't think there's a taxpayer in Los Angeles that would like this performance level. And so, enough said. Anybody trying to defend this project more is just likely to get more comments from Mr. Smith and I that aren't going to be happy. So I just suggest you bite your tongue and accept the comments so far.
Take your money, go.
Take your money and go. And then with regard to the Transportation Committee, take that up with Ms. Gruhl. So with that, if there's no objection, the committee will approve the revised recommendations as stated and move forward. I have no cards on this item, so now we'll go back to item number 1.
Oh, sorry.
Item number 1, continued from November 27, 2007 and December 11, 2007. City engineer report relative to the vacation of the alley southeasterly of Wynola Street from Isidro Place to approximately 134 feet northeasterly thereof. Vacation E1401017.
Do we have any? I believe we have some comment cards.
There are some cards on that, Mr. Chair.
So Lori Krantz?
Hi.
Hi.
Who wants to go first?
I don't know, do you want to hear from me first?
She's
I'm
the
Lori
neighbor,
Krantz.
I'm the
I'm
eur.
Lori Krantz.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I
don't
have
know
your
if you want to
card
hear from
first, that's why we
everybody.
go by the order we received the
Oh.
card. So.
I am the neighbor that's adjacent on the Wynola side to the alley. I don't know if you guys have a diagram. That would probably be the easiest for you. I think I'm lot number 8.
You look on Exhibit B,
Okay.
you can see it.
I'm lot number 8 if you look at Exhibit C or B. Well, B doesn't have the, oh, it does.
I'm looking at B. Which,
I'm lot number 8.
She's this house
oh,
across the alley, not the one that's being.
Not the one that's been petitioned, but the opposite side of the alley.
yeah, I
This
see
house
it.
Okay.
And this garage.
So it's the turnaround, from the report that I've read, the turnaround that they've requested would basically be for my property only, because we're the only other property on that, the adjacent alley. I don't see any need for the turnaround, and for them to put a turnaround in, which is one of the city's requests. They would probably have to take out the tree, even though the city has requested that they not take out the tree. But I don't see how that could happen, and it's we don't need it. It's a waste of time. You don't need it to turn around in that alley. I am absolutely for the vacation of the alley. We bought the property in 1975. We've been there for 33 years. I have never seen anybody use the back alley. It collects trash. It's a fire hazard. I've never seen city on there. I've never seen fire trucks. I've never seen any maintenance, nothing.
Before we continue with public comment, is somebody from staff, can somebody tell me what's going on here?
Yeah, this is Edmund Yu from Public Works Engineering. In this case,
Somebody get the man a chair.
Budget cuts.
thank you.
Can't afford a chair.
You don't have to take it from the next lady.
This is kind of like an L-shaped alley. The applicant would like to vacate a portion of the alley, and
The applicant is which property?
It's
Number
do
9.
you have this, B?
it's number 7, lot number 7.
Okay.
Right.
That's-
What basically engineering has no problem recommending to vacate a portion of this alley, but what will happen is that at the end of the vacation, we will create a dead-end alley in this area, and normally the city, we don't want to create a dead-end alley.
No, it's an alley?
It's a full alley. It's
So it goes
all the way around.
this
That's
property,
correct.
Their property.
That's correct.
Number 7, okay. The where it's black here, that's actually,
The area that they would like to vacate.
So why does he only want to vacate that one portion of the alley then?
we're going to find that out in a minute, but I was asking from staff's perspective,
Right.
why you are recommending this vacation?
Well, we see that the property owners on one side, 4, 5, and 6, we don't really see them using this alley at all. So from the circulation and access point of view, we don't think that this alley would need to remain the way it is. But we do identify as the owner was talking about, there was a garage coming off lot number 8. And we like to make sure that they still have the ability to turn around. And in addition, we don't want to have a public alley to end without a turnaround area, just in case someone would go into that alley by mistake. And
I'm curious, why don't we just vacate the whole thing and let them have access to their garage?
normally, we would only react to what they are requesting. We don't expand on what.
Tell me what you really think.
Now we got colored pictures.
In this case, we don't think the alley is really is needed for public use. If all of them would get together, say ownership number 8, 7, 4, 5, and 6, if all of them would like to come together and eliminate this whole alley system, I don't think engineering would have any problem denying any portion. But if they do it piecemeal at the time, that's the problem that we are creating.
Has that been contemplated?
Well, you guys have vacated other alleys in the area.
No, he's talking
We're
about
just talking
this
about
alley.
Oh, this alley? There are,
I wouldn't be able to get to my garage.
yeah, we don't want, yeah.
Well, explain how she
Okay.
would get to her garage.
There are different ways they can get together, and because
If you
most,
vacate it, essentially it becomes your property.
well, normally would be like half and half.
Half of it would be, and it would
Yeah.
be too short for me to turn into my garage.
But they can always create a private easement between one another to allow one neighbor to use the property for access, but that would be private, would be away from the city's control. We have no problem on that, but they have to get together to work on that.
Because 7 only wants the back side and you need the side.
I need the side, and
So
all the electrical poles are right on my property, which means everything would have to be moved, and I don't really
she's
want to,
here.
unless
This
it
guy's
doesn't, if
here.
it doesn't have to be, I'm happy to have it vacated, but I still
Yeah.
want use of it.
That's what I think what Mr. Yu is saying is you could work a private
Well,
agreement.
I wouldn't be willing to have the fence moved over because I can't get up the alley.
You don't have to move the fence.
No, we, yeah, no, and we vacated, that's fine.
So did you hear?
I'm really excited that you're talking to each other.
We always-
But
We always do, yeah.
what I would envision is a gate at what is the current alley, on both sides of the alley. There
On
would be
which
a-
are you talking about?
At the entrance and the exit, whichever way you look at it. There would be
You
two
talking about-
gates, and the only people that would have access would be you and you.
Are you
Are
talking
you talking about
about
the back alley or
Yeah.
the side alley?
Ysidro Place and?
What he was saying is if we could get an agreement between
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and only those parties would have access to that alley.
Right, but
You-
4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 are
Yeah.
up on a hill.
They're up on a
Elevator on a
hill.
hill.
They don't even-
They don't
And
even
they
see
have-
the alley.
They don't even see the alley. Like this is, you're talking about a flat yard.
So then they shouldn't have a problem agreeing.
They don't.
Well,
They
don't.
just don't like
It's
change.
their property. You need to understand, it's their property. So we can't take it from them. They have to agree.
The alley, you mean?
Yeah, they own it. They own half of the alley, just
Well,
like you
can
own
we
half
have
the
the
alley.
other half?
Yeah,
That's what we want.
I know. So what I'm saying is that,
Where are you?
We're Wynola.
You're 7.
Yeah.
You want the half. You're 7.
And I'm
We're all
8.
7.
And
You're
I'm
8. And you're,
I'm 7.
And then one of them
Bill,
does
or-
agree. One of the, can you see the one on the corner?
6?
6 agrees with us getting the alley.
5 and
Does
4
5
would
and
also
4
be-
5
object?
and 4.
5 and 4 is one lot. No, yes.
Do they
4 and
object?
5 are one lot, and they object.
Why do they object?
They don't like change. She's like 80-some years old, and word for word, she just doesn't like change, and she'd like to have a buffer between us.
If she disagrees, we can still vacate.
One of the conditions is that all the adjoining property owner will need to give consent. So if one property owner is holding out, then this vacation will not
The
happen.
conditions of the,
The vacation,
the
Yeah.
original vacation.
that's correct. Yeah, this as
Standard
applied. Yeah,
It's a standard policy.
that's correct.
How about half a lot?
But it's dangerous.
It is dangerous.
It's
It's not even
dangerous.
improved. It's a dirt alley.
It's a dirt alley and people
And
can
people
come
park
back
there.
there. It's-
I understand that, but the policy of the city is that you must have the adjoining property owners agree or it's no deal. So if you can't get Mrs. 4 and 5 to agree,
Yeah, the fundamental principle is it's their property. Just like this half of the alley is your property.
Can we
she's your
have
alley.
the half?
The government controls it under the easement.
She said that if you guys,
But when we give it back, when you vacate the property, we're essentially giving it back to you.
Right.
If you all agree, then we're happy to give it back to you, and you can control it however you're satisfied, but you all have to agree.
Does that apply to half the alley? Like if we were just to take half
What if
the
we
alley
want
in that
our
one
half?
portion, does it do
We
we have to
put
get
it-
do we
Yeah,
have to get
yes,
approval?
same.
We could vacate half the alley.
We prefer not to vacate half because that would create a substandard alley, may create
But it's-
potential
it's
liability.
dirt.
It's
It's
dirt.
dirt.
It's weeds.
And she's
and
saying
dirt.
nobody ever comes out
I've
there.
never seen
Except for-
anybody there.
Yeah, I mean, I've hauled away a rear end
But-
from a truck.
It's blocked off now.
if we only vacate half an alley,
You need
we
to
still have a liability issue on the half we maintain the easement on. And if we're only creating a half an alley, we don't want that. It's just not in our best interest to do as a city. We'd rather get rid of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Is
It's-
there anything that might convince this, she's been around the block a few times.
No.
I think she knows what's coming here.
No.
It's very difficult. What about if, being that they're 4 and 5, and number 6 wants to vacate the alley and get half?
You know,
And if she would agree to vacate
I'll tell
the
you
alley
what,
and
you know
get
what,
half.
this is not the best place to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me
No,
like
there- you know,
there's
I want to ask
potential.
just one
Yeah,
question.
sure.
If we could get the 2 ends to agree to vacate, then that piece.
Then you
that's in
create a
the middle-
landlocked,
What I recommend is we hold this matter in committee.
Yeah.
Ask you to work with your council member, who is it, by the way? Where are we?
This
Where
is
is it?
Councilman
District
Rosendahl.
11.
11.
Work with Bill Rosendahl and
Engineering will participate.
And we'll try to come up with something that puts you in a better position, including negotiating with the 4 and 5. But don't hold out. People change their minds depending on.
Oh, no, we've talked.
No.
Well, wait,
it's
you
not
know,
changing.
They
Well-
like us, they're.
They like us. We all get
In any
along.
case, we can't really resolve the issue here today on this agenda. So we're going to continue this matter for 30 days. If you could work for 2 meetings, and we'll work with Bureau of Engineering, we'll try to come up with a more acceptable solution. I don't like the idea of closing one end of this alley. I
We're
think,
talking about both.
Where both ends are going to be closed.
no, I
We're-
know, but
yeah.
what I'm saying is, the way that it is recommended here, we would only be closing one half.
think we
I
better
don't
look
like
at it
this
more
other
closely.
alley
We
need to
look at it.
that enters into your property because,
Close both ends.
It's never been a
We cannot
problem.
have the middle.
well, I think if you close it, it will be a
It's been
problem.
closed.
It's
Yeah.
been, what do you mean
It's
it's
been blocked off with the construction for
For 2 years.
2 years, and it's
Construction of
wonderful.
what?
Of our
Their
house.
house.
The house on number 7.
Oh, you're building a house.
It's temporarily blocked
It's
now.
blocked, and it's been great, because I'm not afraid that somebody's gonna come down
But
the
it's,
alley and
but
break
it's,
into my
but it's an
property.
alley, and it will be open at some point. And at that point, I believe it'll be a problem for you.
It's only a problem because it's a dirt lot, and people go back there and they dump trash, but the other side, trust me, I'm watching that alley. Nobody gets on that alley.
I trust you.
Please sit down with Mr. Yu, because he's a
Yeah.
very creative guy.
Cool,
I mean,
And he
absolutely.
solves a lot of
We're trying to
problems.
help you.
Absolutely.
I
Sure,
think
I
there's,
appreciate
I
your
think
help.
there's a way.
We're trying to
you can
come up
solve
with a
this.
better
Thank you.
solution than what's
Thank you.
before us right now. That's what we're
Okay.
Because it's dangerous. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure, I'm sure Mr. Rosendahl wants to help you too.
So we're going to come back
We're
in
just
30
continuing it, and then hopefully you'll come back with a
talk
better
to-
resolution.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
And if you have something that's, where there's a consensus, you don't even have to come back. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You can trust us on that. Item number 2.
Item number 2, Public Works Committee report relative to the vacation of Camino de la Cumbre, portion of northwesterly side, from approximately 350 feet southerly of Valley Vista Boulevard to approximately 150 feet southwesterly thereof. Vacation E1401033. On November 5th, 2008, council re-referred this matter to the Public Works Committee.
Okay, department, you want to tell me what's going on? Oh, you should just sit up here. Before somebody takes your chair again.
We might even get you a grown-up chair.
Thank you. Edmund Yu again from Public Works Engineering. This portion of Camino de la Cumbre is a wide right-of-way. It's much more than what the city would need for this area. So in our recommendation, we recommend the city council to okay the portion beyond what the city would need as a public right-of-way. That's the area shown in the darkened area. And the remaining portion would be enough for the public right-of-way.
Okay, we have 1 for and 1 against. If Mr. Izati and Mr. Newman can come forward. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'd
I'd like to
Mr.
clarify,
Newman.
if I can open, that I represent the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and we're not really against the vacation, actually.
Oh, okay.
But we've had conversations with Mr. Azadi and his client over a period of several months since it's been referred back to this committee. And he was apparently in agreement with the easement that I think is in front of you, the easement recommendation from the Conservancy. And then just today, after faxing the easement to him, he has changed his mind about favoring it. And I understand that the easement that we were going to speak to today covered not only the vacation portion, but also the private property as well. It's a small 10-foot easement because this is in a very highly sensitive area of parkland. 2 state parks and many parcels of open space are committed by the Conservancy, and so it's very sensitive as a wildlife corridor for properties, for open space, for game migration all the way from the 405 freeway all the way to Griffith Park. So it is an extremely vital area for that purpose. We understand from the councilman's office that for today's proceedings, the committee can only react to, correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I am, that we can only speak today to the proposed street vacation area, the easement on that portion, or I open up to discussion the entire easement, which is only 10-foot wide, covering 2 of the 4 areas of the property.
You know what? just tell us what's going on here.
Well, the Conservancy wants the easement, as you see. Heretofore,
I don't see an easement, that's my
Which
problem.
easement? I see
There's all kinds of
Crosshatch
stuff on here.
area.
but
there's two maps.
Show us-
One shows the easement, which is just in Camino de la Cumbre, and
we're
then there's
looking
a
at-
10-foot,
You're looking at this map?
yeah, there's that, no, that's the other one. So there's two. There's this map and that one. This shows an additional easement that this one doesn't show.
That's the easement.
That's the 10-foot
Hey,
one.
show us what, why don't you just come around here?
Sure.
So this one.
And just show us very quickly what you're talking about. Is this the easement you're talking about? This?
Exactly.
And-
So we're talking about the easement here on private property and then on the vacated property.
Okay, so Mr. Izati wants to vacate this,
Wants the city to vacate it in his favor.
and
You want this.
you want the easement.
Yes,
That's a conservation easement.
that's exactly.
What is it now?
Well, it is.
Do me a favor, if you could get back on the
Sure.
record. But tell me, what is it now?
It's a vacant land. They propose to build
Question
a
is,
second
agrees to that.
two-story new construction, new building.
So you want to use the property for development?
Correct.
Including the parcel that they want to vacate? Including the parcel that they want an easement on?
The parcel they want, the easement they are requesting is actually my client's property. Is nothing to do with the vacation area.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But are you saying that you're not willing to make this deal?
Well, I never made any promise that we went back to Councilman's office. I told him I actually favored with the conservation, but not particularly, I said, anything within the rule and regulation. Any
loss of your property?
Exactly, any law would apply in terms of like my owner's right, but yet,
Is that, the city attorney, can the city attorney weigh in here?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, here you go.
Help us.
Because I believe the council member's office is correct. I'm not sure we can use one to leverage the other, but could you explain, you understand what's going on here?
Yes, I've been,
Conservancy is asking for an easement on this property.
but they're not asking for an easement on the area to be vacated.
Oh, yes, they are, actually.
They're asking for, as I understand it, an easement, well, on a very small portion of it, but they're also asking for an easement along the back of the property and the side of the property.
Yes.
The difficulty legally, I should add, my name is Keith Pritzker, Deputy City Attorney. The difficulty legally is that I don't see that you have evidence in the record to substantiate the type of findings you would make to require the property owner to do this. There is one allegation, like one sentence saying that this area to be vacated is currently a wildlife corridor. And I understand that the property owner is willing to agree to allow that area to be vacated to remain as a wildlife corridor. But beyond that, there's nothing to indicate that there is a public benefit that's going away here. Now, there are certain provisions of the Highway and Safety Code that you have to make findings with regard to in approving the vacation. One of them is Highway Code Section 892, which says that the local agencies shall not abandon property unless there's a determination that the right-of-way are not useful as a non-motorized transport facility. Now, we have...
With engineering statement.
Yes, engineering has said we don't need it for cars, we don't need it for bicycles, we don't need it for pedestrians. So that's not a problem. However, there's this other section that you also have to make a finding with regard to, which is Section 8324. In that case, it says that the legislative body finds that the street, highway, or public service easement is unnecessary for present or prospective public use, the legislative body may provide that the vacation occur only after conditions required by the legislative body have been satisfied. Anyway, that's the.
What does that mean?
Well, for instance, we were talking about in item number 1 on your agenda that they didn't want to vacate half of the alleyway without a turnaround. So a turnaround requirement would be reasonable and prudent for the city to require if you're going to abandon half of that alley. So there are situations where we vacate property, but we do things to allow people either to turn around or to get access to parking.
What kind of finding are you saying we have to make here? I'm not understanding what
Well, you'd make a
finding that we don't need any of those things.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But then the question comes in the second section, the code section read 8324, was the local jurisdictions. It alludes to our policies, which goes back to the earlier discussion. That is, we have to have permission from adjoining property owners. In this case, do we have that, or is the Conservancy an adjoining property owner? What is your standing in this?
You went by adjoining, do you mean contiguous? No, the Conservancy is not contiguous. It's one property distant.
Okay.
A short, however, there is a property owner here, Brian Liu,
Okay.
who is contiguous.
But not really, because the vacation portion is my client is the only underlay fee holder of the property. The other gentleman is actually located on the west side of my client's property. It's not like
This is true. I'm
adjoining-
sorry, I misspoke.
adjoining interest.
He's not technically.
You mean across the street, in other
This
words?
is actually after is on
one.
This vacation portion is on the east side of the road. Then my client's property, and the other gentleman is actually west of my.
Oh.
It's not actually.
So
So on this map,
Right.
he is this property
Exactly,
over here.
correct,
Right.
So
correct.
he would adjoin
Oh.
the easement that the Conservancy's asked for, but not easement you're asking
Even
the city to vacate.
Even Conservancy is
Right.
one lot behind, like beyond, on the south side, there's another.
So I'm just trying to establish who's got what rights.
I see that Mr. Liu has corrected me. This flag that you see, 15.02 and 10.03, do you see, is contiguous to the vacation itself, and that is his property.
That's his property that runs down?
That's Mr. Liu's property, yes.
It does touch it at the corner.
You said 10 point.
Y-
You said 10.03.
Yes.
You're talking about 10.1.
Where you have your finger, yes.
10.1.
So he touches right on the corner of it.
Now, there's something else to consider here. If I can just read the Conservancy's.
You own
next
that little piece?
No, that's just easement, that's just.
Yeah, that-
easement.
You have underlying fee ownership? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Can I ask, what is your plans, if you wanted this, you said for your home, but you're willing to let them have the Conservancy easement, what are you gonna do with this property that you're asking
Well,
for?
actually,
No, he's not, the other side easement, he's not willing to, he said,
no, I'm not requesting for the other side. The
Yeah.
darker
the
area.
dark area.
In order for my client, for our project, to get access to this lot is crossing this vacation portion.
Okay.
Therefore, city actually recommended we go through the vacation procedure up on if no public entity would have any interest on that, which is that gentleman
Yeah.
mentioned, public works.
Yeah, that's the easiest part.
That just
the
nobody
easiest
had any interest on that. And therefore, automatically, for city to relieve themselves from liability for that piece of vacation or piece of land, and to maintain that, because the liability, they are willing to actually forward it to the only underlay fee interest, which is my client. And we went through the process, paid the application, we went through, we came here, public force, and the last meeting approved this process. We went back to city committee, then neighbors started asking questions, routing back to them. We went back to Councilman's office, we meet with them. But the only common interest we got regarding this vacation is some of the neighbors, which they are not here today, they said they don't like the idea of sidewalk. They want to limit to curb and gather, that was part of the condition on the city public works approval. That was building curb and gather on the sidewalk. But they said that they neighbor want to be like continuity to the neighbor.
Yeah.
They want to eliminate, they want to keep the same continuity through the neighborhood. They were not in favor of sidewalk, but then the idea is that's public works decision, whether they're going to impose a condition to have a sidewalk or limit to curb and gutters. That was the only common.
Let me ask you a question. You said that that the property owner was willing to maintain it as a wildlife corridor.
No.
Well, as in the dark
That's what he said.
area.
That's
That was, I was given that understanding by city staff that I spoke with this morning along this dark
Only
area.
5 foot of that would be dedicated.
No. Forgetting about this.
No, I
Forget about
understand
that.
That 5 foot of that portion
Well,
of that vacation.
let me get an
Okay.
answer to my question.
Yes.
The question was, you said that the property owner would be willing to maintain this as a wildlife corridor.
That's what I was told by other city staff.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that true?
No.
Okay.
Where does that leave us with regard to the finding that you referenced that relative to that statement?
Well,
Shouldn't matter.
what you need to do, of course, is make a finding that it's unnecessary for present or prospective public use.
So the
been
public use
Yeah.
would theoretically be maintaining it as a wildlife corridor?
In theory, that's possible, but there's no evidence to show that
That it is a wildlife?
that it is a wildlife corridor or is necessary for a wildlife corridor. There's, we've had one statement that's in the record currently in that regard.
So the sidewalk is for the wildlife?
No.
Very sophisticated answer.
Could I interject something? I'm sorry.
Hold on a second, and we'll hear everybody here, but I just want to be clear because, so you are requiring a sidewalk on that area?
That's correct.
So the neighbor, they don't want the sidewalk, they want the curb and
Neighbor
gutter.
want to be like.
My guess is you don't want the sidewalk either.
That's true.
Yeah.
The neighborhood does not want the sidewalk, neither does the Conservancy.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent with
He probably doesn't want the sidewalk either.
open space.
Well, of course. I mean, if you want to be similar to the other, there isn't any sidewalk in that area.
Now, you've said this isn't necessary for, we have to make a finding, that this isn't necessary for vehicle or pedestrian traffic, and yet you want to put a sidewalk on it.
Well, the sidewalk is in the
That's why
remaining
I assumed
area.
It was for the wildlife, because
yeah.
it's not for the pedestrian.
Right. Yeah. The sidewalk in this case can be built in the remaining public right-of-way, not in the area being vacated.
Why?
Well, just the general city policy, we would like to have sidewalk.
Is somebody here from the city council member's office? Can you step forward and tell me
He's hiding.
tell me what the council member thinks?
And, and Mr. Alarcon, one of the problems, and we've had these fights before with the department, they have by standard policy, they ask for that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And we put in sidewalks where they absolutely have no connection to anything, which makes no sense.
That is the case here, by the
One of the
way.
things that I'm trying to resolve here, just with
We can
regard to the
override that.
vacation,
Thank you.
is whether we can change the recommendation for the sidewalk.
Yeah, we can do that. We've done that many times.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable to the councilman, or?
My name is Kelly O'Rourke. I'm here from Councilmember Weiss's office. Councilmember Weiss's office, we've reviewed the report. We've reviewed the findings. We've had meetings in our office between the applicant and the community. And it is a tough issue because whereas Councilmember Weiss is very supportive of the Conservancy and of the community, we're really limited into the types of conditions that we can propose, as there's no discretionary action before this committee at this time related to the private parcel adjacent.
Is that a yes or a no on the sidewalk?
That's a definite. We support the removal of the sidewalk condition. But Councilmember Weiss's office also supports a conservation easement on the portion proposed for vacation.
But we can't mandate that. Nor can we make it.
That's the original
Well-
reason for bringing you forward, was to say, can we mandate the easement in this particular context?
Well, if you have the acquiescence to the property owner, you can.
No, he does. No, we know that.
Okay.
He doesn't want to do that.
Okay.
The reason is,
I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want
Okay.
to. I just want to know what our
You-
legal
no,
rights are.
You can't do it on the record that you have before you today. If you want to, put this over, we could, get more evidence that this area is used as a wildlife corridor, and then you can, make a new record.
Oh, the evidence is before us. The Conservancy has spelled out very clearly that this is a wildlife corridor, of vital essence to the
When
parkland.
you said evidence, did you read the letter?
Yes, it's simply a statement that there's a wildlife corridor there.
Some verification by.
I think you need something more than that.
This is in fact the agency that would be qualified to make that statement, and they
Who's that?
have indeed.
Who's that?
The Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy.
Conservancy. Is that
The
an agency
chief
that-
biologist
position
for
to
the
make that
Conservancy.
I thought
Well-
that's why they exist, but.
Yes,
That's
you know,
true.
Something different.
They have clarified it is a vital wildlife corridor in the document, and they have done so before on this specific
Well, if-
issue.
How do you come to that conclusion? Did you
Well,
use some animal
So
count?
the
I
councilman wants.
can
the
show you pictures of
On the portion
bobcats
being
mating,
the councilman wants the-
I
bobcats.
don't need to see that.
Okay, let me.
Yeah.
I have that data with me.
Wait a minute. Before we go, I want to make it crystal clear what the council member wants. The council member wants the vacation without the sidewalk condition.
Correct,
A curb and gutter provision. That helps you save some money on having to do the sidewalk. We can require you to provide the easement as part of this action, but there's some question as to whether or not the evidence is appropriate. Now, I don't think that Councilmember Smith and I are in a position to declare that without the support of the city attorney. So we need to know whether or not we can make that finding.
Well, I would say that it would be a stronger record if you had a wildlife biologist, with a report. You don't have
I am
that
a
here.
conservation biologist, PhD in this specific field.
Okay, then.
But are you a wildlife biologist?
Yes, I am.
Okay, fine. Then he can testify before this committee.
Yes, it's well established. This isn't a matter for conjecture. Well established. Here's the open space. It's full of deer, bobcat, and gophers and other wildlife. And there's no doubt that the wildlife traverses through the said property. Absolutely, it is
Okay, so then let me
uncontroversial.
ask Councilmember Weiss's. Well, that's the side where the curb and gutter are going to go, right?
Yeah, that's the
The
vacation
the
portion.
side we're talking about is the other side.
No, that's the
No.
vacation portion of that land.
That's the vacation.
This is the vacation portion, but it's not the easement portion.
There are not many animals.
No, but that's the easement that the councilman is talking about. An easement over that hillside that you're looking
What
at.
you're seeing right there.
Okay, I'm sorry, but there are not many animals doing anything on that hillside. That's an 80%
I think-
grade.
They traverse
Are
that
you a
very,
wildlife
very
biologist?
easily.
I am a dirt.
I think he said gophers.
Go first, okay, maybe go first.
The gophers feed the bobcats, and so they're important as well. Here is yet another statement from the chief biologist for the Conservancy on the importance of the parcel as a wildlife corridor. a second statement.
Okay, I need to get some clarity here.
Sure.
And I want the council member's office to provide that. Is this the easement that the council member supports?
Is the council member only
Here's the
supports
vacation.
right? The only the easement on the vacation, not the
So this
easement on the
little piece-
private
This
parcel.
little piece right here?
Right, exactly.
The one that's
That's
filed.
the only thing
That's the
before
only
us
thing
today.
that's before us, actually.
Yeah.
And
That's
this,
fine with us too.
this
Okay,
is
so
what,
the applicant agrees to the easement on the
agree to this
portion
little
being
easement?
vacation. Yes.
thank you, okay, that's very good. This portion,
No sidewalk.
Not before us today, because it's on a private parcel that there's no discretionary
Question
action
to
being
the city attorney
requested.
is, can
that,
we even talk
that,
about
that's as clear
I think
as this hillside here. So it sounds like the council member would like us to move forward with the vacation, with the easement on the southerly portion of the,
And no sidewalk, correct?
with no
Councilmember?
sidewalk.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would move.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. On the issue of the
Okay.
vacation, the easement, there are some public comment cards. I think I got them all, so, did you fill out a card?
Salute.
You did?
You did. Should be in there.
Oh, it's over here, okay, I'm sorry. Brian?
Right.
Okay, Brian Liu and Kelly O'Rourke?
That's me,
Oh,
sir.
that's you.
Thank
don't have to
you.
fill out a card.
Okay.
Brian?
Thank you. I'm Brian Liu, and I'm the neighbor who lives in that one flag and also directly above this particular property. I purchased the property about a little bit more than a year ago, so I wasn't noticed with some of the earlier meetings, and was only noticed actually basically 1 day before the November meeting. So I've been speaking with Ben, and we've been talking about it, and my particular property during the Northridge earthquake was completely destroyed by a landslide, and when they rebuilt it and recompacted it, there were over 30 caissons that support the retaining walls. In fact, it's an incredible piece of engineering. And in my biology and my soil geology report, in particular, it states that through the history that they've found 2 other landslides that occurred in the
Okay,
northeast
we need to get
portion.
point. What is your position?
My point is that when we were talking in the council's office, I wanted as a condition that Ben agree that any retaining wall that he makes next to my property, because of this history, would use caissons or some other type of very strong.
But I don't know that that is pertinent to the decision on the vacation.
Correct.
It's a decision of the.
It has nothing to do with.
With building and safety later on, yeah.
I mean,
There-
we can't impose a condition.
I think this is the wrong governmental body to be evaluating that question. At some point, your neighbor will want to improve or modify their home that fronts on Camino de la Cumbra.
Okay.
When they put in for an application, I believe as an adjacent property owner, you'll be notified, and you'll have an opportunity to review their plans and to comment to building and safety on their plans and express the very concerns that you've expressed here.
Okay.
But this is the wrong body to present those issues.
Okay, so even though I am adjacent to the proposed vacation, because I'll tell you why. I mean,
Let me put it to you this way.
okay.
It's very difficult
Mhm.
for us to have a consideration about a potential retaining wall
Okay.
that has not even been filed for, and we don't know that is proposed, and that we don't assume it, on a vacation that's on the other side of the property.
Okay.
I mean, that's a reach. But when you have to, when he has to get the approvals for the retaining wall, you would have to be notified, and at that point, they can consider the conditions relative to the retaining wall. But it's not pertinent.
But if it's all within code, would there still be these types of meetings if there were no variances?
Not necessarily, but it doesn't matter. It's still not pertinent to the vacation.
It's out of the purview of this committee.
You're asking us to reach far beyond our purview. And I can't imagine it's in the purview of the council at this point, because there is no proposed.
But I mean, the vacation, I assume that the vacation has to do with the construction and the building, so that's why I thought it would be pertinent.
But you're making an assumption.
Well,
Well, we're
What he stated on the record was that he wanted to take control of this property to maintain it so that the city would not have to worry about it.
But
And-
there,
and-
Right.
in the
I mean,
pr-
that's a legitimate
Okay.
Statement.
Okay, but in the
If he
previous-
changes his mind and wants to develop it later, he has that option, but there are other entities of the city that would handle that. In any case, the city attorney has expressed his opinion that if he goes through a planning situation, that you will have to be notified at some point in the process. I assume that's correct.
Okay, I thought I saw filed with the records, the previous records, actual building plans.
Are there,
Well-
but I still don't know how that pertains to this committee.
Okay.
Okay, that's the problem. I also have to show respect for the council member of the district who has reviewed this case much closer than we can in a committee setting. They believe that this is the appropriate action today, without making comment on the easement to the other side of the property. That's something you can continue to work with the owner
Yes,
on.
we're agreeable to that.
And negotiate. So if there was one other card, oh, that was Kelly. So if that's, so I think our position is that we would approve the vacation with the easement on the, I believe this is the southerly, the southerly section of the vacation, and removing the condition for the sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually think that last condition would also be helpful for the Gophers.
It will indeed.
Thank you. Item number 3.
Item 3, continued from January 7, 2009, city engineer report relative to the vacation of the alley northerly of DeLongpre Avenue between Ivar Avenue and Cahuenga Boulevard, vacation E1401049.
Okay, let's see, we have, can the department first tell us what we're doing?
Edmund Yu from Public Works Engineering. This particular vacation is an alley in the Hollywood area. When planning department in the memo is telling engineering that this vacation is not in conformance with the general plan. So based on that, and we also verify with Council District 13 and the planning department that this alley should not be vacated. So in this report, we are recommending the City Council to deny this request.
Oh, okay. We have comments from Peter Bulkey, is that correct?
I'm Peter.
Did I pronounce that right?
That is correct,
Bulkey,
yes,
okay,
sir.
and Gary Galvin.
That's correct, sir.
Peter?
Okay,
For or against this?
We weren't sure exactly how to respond. We're because of the way
we
it was
would
put
like,
there.
we asked for the vacation.
We're requesting.
You would like.
We
the
request
so
the
yes.
vacation.
So you support, okay. Tell us,
The last meeting we were here, we were actually going over the engineer's report and the conclusions, and I was trying to point out that the reasons for not allowing the vacation were actually non-existent. And now I hear that the engineering says, well, you know, they're still valid. At the end of the last meeting, I was recommended to do two things. Talk to our council member, who is Garcetti, and we had a representative of the council member come over, who basically said, well, we'll go along with the engineer's report. Secondly, it was recommended that the engineers actually came and assess the alley, and I don't know whether this happened because we haven't seen this, and they haven't contacted us as well. So what I have done in the meantime is, since we have security cameras up there, I started counting what happened in that alley. And I have to say that whatever I stated as arguments that it should be vacated anyway is still valid.
hey, tell me why you want a vacation.
Because we want to get rid of the nuisance. Here's what happens. I'm paying taxes to the city, I'm paying taxes to BID, and I'm falling in between the cracks. Now I have to pay somebody to clean up the alley all the time. And what we find is there's drug deals going on, there is homeless over there, and the LAPD has actually asked us not to call them to remove them because they're understaffed anyway. So who cleans it up? We do. And I basically want to close it off. I'm not building anything. I just want to close it off so that there is nobody using this. The only people that actually walk into this alley is to do what? Urinate. That's all we have. They're not. It's not used at all
Okay,
as
now,
public.
Which property do you own?
It's the whole. I represent Granite Prospect. We own the whole block from Cahuenga all the way to Ivar and the Long Prix. That whole. So the alley, and I had checked it. Actually, Ivar is on the west, on the east side.
Oh, here's Ivar.
East, yeah. West is Cahuenga.
You own 14, 15, and 16?
Correct, sir.
Okay, okay.
And the alley is actually property completely.
Oh, it is.
We checked that, yes.
It's what?
We checked the title as far as we could go back, and the alley is 100% owned by us. So it's not split.
It's not divided, okay.
That happens now and then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not understanding the reasons why you don't want okay, what kind of businesses do you operate and how would they load and unload?
Could I address
We-
that?
yeah.
I'll address that, please. Because my name is Gary Galvin. I'm the operations manager at this address.
Yeah, who's 17?
And one of the in the engineering report, it said that in their conclusion that they had 4 points here, is that the request be denied because the alternate means of loading and unloading freight. The alley is very narrow. It's only about 10 feet wide. We occupy the whole southern portion of this block. All our deliveries basically come in through our front gate. We also observe the adjacent property owners receiving their goods and services via delivery vehicles parked in the middle of Ivar Street in the center median, where they take and load and unload the vehicles. They're not using our alley. It's very narrow.
Just to clarify the point so that you can picture what's going on.
Well,
the entrance.
Actually, before we do anything else, I wanted to get some comments from the representative of the councilman.
I wish I was that person, but Kevin Keller from the City Planning Department, and we were asked to come here. I have a couple of things I'd like to turn in. Number one, I have a letter from Helen Lung from the council office supporting denying the request in this location. I just want to submit that email and confirm, and we want to thank engineering for following up with both the planning department and the council office on denying this request. This is nothing in regards to this project or this property owner, but just to give some background, at the request of the council office, the planning department is working on, and you've probably seen me once or twice before, on the Hollywood Community Plan. We did a Hollywood walkabout in this area, and we're proposing a number of pedestrian-oriented improvements as well as incentive zones for future development. And as part of that, the existing alley network has been studied and identified as a piece that we want to retain in this location. It's a little bit different than other parts of the city. My understanding is there's no application in front of us on this site. At some time that might be the case, and maybe this could be considered, but the idea that these alleys are useful, they're useful to be retained. These properties will be turning over. They are underutilized in many locations. And at this time, working closely with the council office, the planning department is taking a more aggressive role in trying to work comprehensively with this. My understanding is Helen from the council office did meet with the applicants.
Yeah.
She did confirm with both us and the engineering department that they are in support of denying the request. And they did offer some alternatives in terms of revocable permits or B improvements or things like that. We do have a project to the northwest of Cahuenga and Selma, which is one of our first kind of seed projects. We're working with the council office at engineering called the Selma Hotel Alley, which is going to be revitalizing that particular alley. That's a quote nicer alley than this one, but that one's going to have a series of pedestrian improvements, outdoor uses, not necessarily open to cars, but outdoor dining, things like that. And we'd like to retain that right up and down the Cahuenga corridor. So that's just some of the background. I know it's not, I don't usually get to come to these kind of meetings, but I was asked to attend. Just want to give that baseline background and just provide some more background. So we'd be, I think just like the message said from the council office, we'd be happy to continue to work with any project that comes forward on the private side, and the council office wanted to share that as well. So any other questions?
Yeah, I have two questions. One, and it's really for Edmund on property owner on 17, lot 17. Have they commented on this? Even though they're not.
Yeah, we did not hear any position taken by that property owner.
And then on your plan to someday develop this into a walking district, someday in city terms can be years, and they have to then put up with this for years. You said something about an offer to do a revocable permit. Are you talking about closing it at both ends for now?
I think there's a alternative to deal with the nuisance or the criminal issues. We have worked with different council offices. The state law do allow the city to authorize temporary closure of alley because of criminal activities. It's granted by the city council for 18-month periods. That would allow the can be extended several times, and that would allow them to deal with the mitigate the criminal issues without permanently vacating the alley. So that may be a solution.
I will certainly pursue it.
Yes, it definitely would. What we'd like to do is just abate the criminal activity that's occurring there. I mean, we've installed.
Yes,
It sounds to me like the council member is trying to work with you on a process to abate the immediate problem, at the same time not give you permanent vacancy.
They were very clear on that. They said that they would not be allowed to take and vacate the alley. They were not good. They would not do that under any circumstances.
Yeah. So what?
There is a solution at hand.
So we would just recommend that you continue to work with the council office and engineering. Is it engineering? Who does the revocable permits?
Actually, my office would handle the closure, and within engineering, we would follow up with a revocable permit.
Yeah.
So all of this will be authorized by the city council.
What's the process for revocable permit?
It's first the city council will authorize the closure.
So we have to. You will have to come back to this process. Is there any way
As
to
a different form?
to modify this request so that they don't have to pay the fees again?
Well, there's no fee for the closure. It's initiated by the council office by a motion.
Glad you didn't
So
know
the council office can introduce a motion and direct engineering to process that, and then we will bring a report back to the Public Works Committee for recommendation, and then we'll go to the full council.
Is there any way to amend this report to accomplish that?
I would say it's better to do it completely separate, because this is a something that the applicant is paying a fee, and then for that is completely no fee issue. Is as long as the council office is agreeing to initiate that, and that can be done separately. I would recommend for this one to close the book on this one, and then just handle that separately altogether.
Okay. So you understand, if you continue to work with the council office and Mr. You'll, it sounds like you will get a closure, although it will be a temporary permit that is extendable theoretically, as long as there's the conditions that you described, or potential for those conditions. So, but the goal would be to enhance the area with other kinds of pedestrian-friendly activities. Sounds very interesting.
Yes, it sounds very interesting to us, too, and we're concerned about the fact that they're saying that this is going to happen, but at your direction, someone was supposed to come to our location and review this. To the immediate east of us is the ArcLight Theater Complex. I have a high-rise.
We're going to stray, and we're not going to be able to help.
And I don't know what their plans are.
I would like to know,
This committee,
what do I have to do from my side? I just have to go back, or is it automatically rolling already?
No.
I just go
You
back?
need to sit down with him and work out the
Sit down with him, he'll
details.
explain the new process and work with your council office as well.
I think you're going to need a letter from the police department as well, aren't you?
That's correct. We will need to verification from the police department on
Make the findings that it needs to be shown.
All right.
It's not impossible. It's not a difficult thing.
Okay,
All right.
with that, then, the recommendation in the report is approved, denying this request, and that matter is heard by Mr. Smith. Okay, so item number 4?
Right. Item number 4, city engineer report relative to the vacation of the 27th Street Vacation District, vacation E1401089.
Okay. Staff?
This is a request from LAUSD recommending to vacate some public right-of-way in conjunction with a school construction.
You support it?
Yes.
Okay, you like it?
We wanted to amend a couple of conditions. We've spoken.
Here we go.
Give me an easy one.
You said this would be the fastest meeting ever, and we're not even close.
Maybe this will help. Robin Brown, Program Development Manager with LAUSD. I believe the Bureau of Engineering is in support with the modifications.
Have you?
Yeah, we agree with
read the modifications. You concur?
Yes.
And what are those modifications?
To change the wording on condition 5B1 and 5B2.
I was wondering about those. Okay, 5B1 and 5B2?
Yes.
Okay, what would those changes be?
To change 5B1 to read, construct new integral curb and gutter, a 4-foot wide sidewalk along the northeasterly side of 27th Street adjoining lots 12 through 15, Hooper's Adam Street tract.
And you concur without, you don't want to do the irrigated parkway and?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
4 feet is okay? as
Yes,
opposed to 5
we
feet?
agree.
Well, who could not agree with that? B2.
B2, to now read, construct a cul-de-sac at the southeasterly terminus of the unvacated portion of 27th Street.
I'm assuming this is going to be an unstandard cul-de-sac.
Correct.
What would, never mind. I don't want to even.
Don't ask.
If you guys like it, I like it. If Mr.
Here's a
Smith-
non-standard.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So-
If Mr. Smith concurs, that matter is approved as amended by the gentleman from LAUSD, Mr. Brown. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, did you introduce yourself for the record?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I will do it again.
Robin Brown,
Yes.
LAUSD.
Thank you.
Item number 5.
Item number 5, city engineer report relative to the vacation of the walk adjoining Lot 63, track 7454 from Sunbeam Drive to the east-west walk southerly thereof, vacation E1401018.
We have one comment from James, is it Gillis?
Gillis, yes.
Gillis, in support of this, is the Department of Engineering in support of the?
Yes, we are recommending approval. Yes.
Are there any amendments proposed?
Yes, I have a
Aye.
problem with the conditions.
What would those amendments be?
Well, these are under 5A, B, C.
Okay, page 3.
As I interpret these, there's a considerable amount of road work that's being asked to be done in curb work, which would be.
Have you consulted with the engineer?
I had a phone conversation a year ago, and I attempted to set up a meeting, but
A year
unfortunately,
ago?
didn't happen. The meeting didn't happen to get any. I got as far as a phone call, and was told this is pretty much the only way it could be. So
So you have not discussed the amendments?
Not in the meantime. I got this letter last Thursday, and I had no idea what the status of this was in the last year and a
Okay,
half.
just give me a sense of what you're trying to change here. You want to do less construction? Is that what-
No, I don't want to do any construction. I have 2 lots that are joining each other with an easement in between. If you have the map, you would see them.
Yeah.
My house is on 150-2. and
Well, here's my point.
Yeah.
It's impossible for us to discern just on the basis of testimony whether or not this is viable. We would
Yeah.
rely on staff to work with you to come to us with a presentation.
Ah.
So the only thing I can recommend here, is there a member of the council member staff present? Not
I
hearing that, then
contacted them numerous
My
times,
recommendation
and
is
they
that
never
we
called me
continue
back
this
either.
matter and have you
Yes.
work with Department of, the Bureau of Engineering to see if you can come to agreement. It sounds like there just hasn't been a communication in a while, and so I doubt that he would be able to say yes to your amendments. That's my point, without knowing exactly what the ramifications are. So if you work together, hopefully you can come to agreement, and then we can just send this through committee. So we'll just continue to the next meeting, which is a couple of weeks. And if you agree, you may not even have to be here. Okay? Okay. But you're not the one requesting, are you
I'm the one who's requesting
the vacation?
the vacation,
Okay,
yes.
Okay, good. Then you're the person.
Conditions are problematic.
The conditions are my
Okay,
problem.
that matter will be held. I think we're done with our agenda. Are there-
We still have item 7 and item 8.
Oh, I just don't have public comment cards. Okay. Item 7.
Item 7, Board of Public Works report relative to the conclusion of the pilot program and proposed modifications in connection with the public way reservation system, formerly council file number 03-0580.
What, is there somebody here to make a
Yes,
present?
staff from Bureau of Engineering is here. Lynn Paco and Randy Price.
This is just a report?
Yes. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Len Parco with the Bureau of Engineering. I'm here to report on the conclusion of our pilot program for the Public Way Reservation System, PWRS. The PWRS is in response.
Mr. Rosendahl would like to hear this report? I can't imagine that he would not like to miss this report. So I'm gonna, and I apologize for not saying this earlier. I didn't realize that was the substance of this item.
No problem.
If you don't mind, we'll continue this matter until Mr. Rosendahl is available to.
Sure.
Yeah. And hopefully, maybe I'll be absent for that meeting, I don't know. But item number 8.
Item number 8, Joint City Engineer and Bureau of Street Services report in response to motion Rosendahl Garcetti relative to the utilization of drought-resistant landscapes for parkway landscapes and related matters, formerly Council File Number 01-2640.
Good afternoon. I'm Lance Oishi with the Bureau of Street Services. Before you have the report that is in response to the council motion from Councilman Rosendahl and Garcetti about the allowable plant materials in parkways. And essentially what the...
Mr. Chairman, if it would, since it's a Mr. Rosendahl motion, and I do have some concerns I want to discuss with him here, I think it'd be best if we continue that.
Okay.
So he's here. No offense, but
Not a problem.
I have some concerns, and I want him to be here because it is his motion.
Not a problem.
Absolutely. I concur. Okay, so that matter will be continued until Mr. Rosendahl agendizes that.
Thank you.
Be here. With that, I believe we're finished.
We are done.
Okay, then this meeting is adjourned. Well, we didn't do it as short as I would have
No
liked,
record.
but we had more fun than ever.
No
so.
record. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I think we like everything.